Okay, hello everybody. My name's Chris Bentley. I am the guitar player for Night Goat. We have a new album coming out on December 13th. It's called Milk. It's actually our debut full length. So with Milk, we tried to create an album that used a lot of different sounds. We did everything from recording different kind of breathing. We recorded screws in glass mason jars, all kinds of crazy shit. One of the things I focused on as a guitar player, though, was trying to get some really different sounds, noises, and things with guitar. So I was going to talk about what I used for the recording. So mainly, guitar I used on here was this Reverend Kyle Shutt Signature Series right here. This guitar is amazing. I got it, I think last year. I wanted a guitar that had a bigger body, like this. And I had been playing predominantly SGs over the years. And I wanted something still that had an SG kind of shape, but also just some more weight to it and bigger, because I'm a big guy. Most guitars are not big, and they just feel strange on me. So I picked this baby up, and it sounds amazing. It plays great. It's a fantastic guitar. I can't say enough good stuff about it. The other guitar I used was an old, kind of an old standby of mine. I've had this guitar for many years. It was given to me by a good friend named Bob Hirschberger when my band was on tour in Florida, and I had a shit-ass guitar, and he gave me this and said, "Dude, take this, play this thing, you need a decent guitar." Thank you, Bob. I still have it. It does not have the original pickups in it. Those are washed out and drowned out with tons of beer that got dumped down in here over the years. But what I did put in it, or had installed, was the Matt Pike Dirty Hesher pickups. So that's what these two are right here. This pickup no longer works. I just left it in there because I didn't want to fuck with it. But these pickups are intense, and they've got tons of volume and tons of bottom end and just fierce sounding. So it took this old SG, ramped it up. This thing sounds amazing now. It's so thick, still plays like a dream. Awesome guitar. And I think you can pick one of these up pretty cheap. I mean, I probably totally have maybe $200 in this thing. Can't beat it. As far as like amps for the recording for the album, for years I was using tube amps, and I was just unhappy with having to constantly buy tubes. I'm rough on gear. My old band toured a lot, and we were constantly, having to fix shit, and I just got sick of that whole vicious circle. So I was playing a solid state orange CR120, which I still have, and I did use on the album in certain areas. But the main amp used was this Jazz Chorus JC120, the Roland JC120. It's been around forever. I picked this up because I wanted that traditional chorusy, clean aspect of an amp, but still solid state, a lot of volume. I love like old 80s alternative guitar sounds, like Billy Duffy from The Cult and Robert Smith from The Cure. You could name a shit ton of guys that used these especially back then. So what I wanted to try to do with it was have this solid state amp, kick-ass chorus in it. The distortion is bullshit in this thing. It sucks. Don't use it. I tried everything to get a decent sound out of it, or at least a usable sound. It couldn't really do much. I got this mainly for that, and then drove the pedals through it, used the pedals through the amp, and I love it. In a live setting, pretty much use the chorus on full blast, use a couple different pedals to overdrive it, and then you know, all kinds of weird effects and stuff if I want. But it's a great amp, sturdy. It's rad. It's really cool. I think traditionally in the old days, a lot of bands, I think Metallica used it on Master of Puppets for a lot of the clean stuff. A lot of the clean stuff or the chimey stuff, I guess, is what, and the chorusy stuff that they used on that. For me, I wanted to try to be a little bit different with it and try to get it to kick out some nasty noise. And the way I did that was predominantly using the Rat. This pedal is indispensable to my sound on this, in Night Goat at least. The volume that it can kick out, the distortion, I can't be beat. I've tried almost every distortion I can get my hands on. That I'm always still coming back to this thing. I love this thing. And it's built like a fucking tank, and they're cheap. I think you can get one of these for under $100 or something like that. And I know I've heard like they buy different ones, they sound different and stuff. But for me, that one takes the cake. It sounds great. Another awesome distortion fuzz that I used on the recording was this. This is a Robo Pedal Fuzz Christ. Now the story on this thing, it was built by Robo Pedals, which is a company that Rebecca from Multicult has. She builds these pedals. She built this for Christian from Whores. And I'm not sure exactly what the whole idea was behind it. I don't think it was necessarily trying to emulate his sound, but just give him some different crazy distortions and fuzz to use, and it does it. It's a very twitchy pedal where you really got to tweak it. There's a lot of play in these knobs, and if you don't get everything exactly where you want it, it's utter chaos. But if you set it up and mess with it, you'll get some of the craziest distortions and sounds I've ever heard. It was really fun to use. It's a really fun pedal, and Rebecca builds these, and she sells them pretty cheap, and they're built sturdy, they're fun. I can't say, anything bad about it. I love this thing. It's great. I want to buy a bunch more off of her. I see her posting stuff all the time, different things that she has, and I want to get some more. This thing's great. I used it a lot on the record for really severe sounds, more extreme, over the top, noisy stuff. Another thing I used on the record was this little guy. This is a Catlin bred Sabracadabra, and this is the quintessential Black Sabbath sound. I mainly use this for I think it's the Dallas overdrive thing channel on here. I'm not a real tech guy. I don't know, I just like sounds. I love how Sabbath sounds, the doominess of it. So I wanted to integrate that into Night Goat somehow. And this pedal does it. Linked up, or actually not linked up, but if you have a track of the Rat going and then a track of the Sabracadabra going, playing the same riff, it is monstrous. This is a great pedal too. Really dark sounding. Another fun pedal I used on the record was this guy, and this thing gets a bad rap. This is a Boss Metal Zone. These have been around forever. It's another one. If you mess with this thing, with the knobs, you can get some really shitty sounds. I used it for a lot of, pretty much just that, to get like a really nasty, shitty, noisy distortion that we layered in on some different parts. This thing is really fun to mess with, and you know, it gets a bad rep. I wouldn't want to use this as my primary distortion. I mean, I'm sure guys do, you know, but for me personally, it's not what I would use it for. I used it mainly for like layering different kinds of noise and sounds and weirdness. Another really cool pedal I used on here was this guy. So this is the Horse Fuzz frequency made by Idiot Box, and this is a really fun pedal and crazy, and it's supposed, I guess, sort of to emulate the sound of Christian from Horse, his sound. That has like a weird wah effect built into it. You can do some crazy shit with this as well. Another real fun pedal to play with and tweak. A lot of interesting sounds here. It does sort of, well, yeah, a good bit emulates Christian's guitar sound, different ways. But I tried to mess with it and get some different sounds out of it, and I used it in particular in our song on the recording, Dirty Candy, to create this wall of noise that just basically comes up like and overtakes everything towards the end of the song. And that's what I used on that, was this guy, and it was fun to use. Another great fun pedal. Use this guy. This is a Maxon Overdrive. This was fun to use. Just a little overdrive pedal. Use some different layers, get some different sounds. More of a cleaner sound, but still overdriven, without distortion, pretty much. Another one I use. This one's kind of this would be a rare type little guy here. This is an Earthquaker pedal that was created for my friend Dominic. Dominic runs, he builds DB, his company's called DB Pedal Boards. He builds pedal boards. He was at the 2017 Earthquaker Day, and because he was a vendor there, they built a pedal for him, which is pretty rad. This pedal is really interesting. I don't think there's very many of these out there. I'm not sure what pedal this basically copies or emulates, but it's rad as hell. It's really thick. There's not a lot of volume to it, but it's really thick sounding and fuzzy, and it's an interesting layer to add to things. But a really cool pedal. I'd be interested to find out what one regular Earthquaker pedal this is kind of emulating. Speaking of Earthquaker, one of the other main Earthquaker pedals we used on recording, which I do not have here right now, my friend is borrowing it, was the Earthquaker Rainbow Machine. Amazing pedal. I hear it being used a lot right now for different things. So what I tried to do with it was create layers of sound with the Rainbow Machine. So we would record one track, Rainbow Machine weirdness, another track, Rainbow Machine weirdness, another track, Rainbow Machine weirdness, different settings, and just kind of layer them and mess around with them until we got what we wanted. Another amazing pedal. Earthquaker makes awesome stuff, and they're local to us, based out of Akron. I know some of the guys that work there, and they're just fun dudes, and they're totally into it. So what else we got here? What else did I use? I used a full tone super trim. I was trying to go for, in one song in particular, I was trying to go for like a Smith's Echo and the Bunnymen heavy tremolo sound throughout the entire song. We ended up scrapping it because I couldn't get the timing to line up how I wanted it to. If I could have had more time to spend on it, I think I could have. Still ended up using this pedal for some different stuff. This thing's built like a tank as well, and I think they've been around forever, and tons of people use them. It's a fun pedal to use. Another tweaker with different switches and settings, and you can really do some really interesting things with it. Not just tremolo. I think there's some like almost like a volume swell in there. I think that's it. I use the Ocean's 11 Electro-Harmonics reverb. I just picked this one up. We had one up there when we were recording, but this is an awesome pedal for reverbs and stuff. Another effect we use, this is kind of a standard Electro-Harmonic small clone. Use it for some choruses. It sounds really good to use this chorus and then use this chorus on top of it. It's fun to use, run it through there. This chorus alone, it's okay. It's you know, I know it was used like for Nirvana, used one, and some other bands, especially back in the early 90s. Sonic Youth, I think Sonic Youth probably had every pedal there was, but it's a cool pedal. The other thing we used on the recording I used was this Boss guitar synth. This thing is wacky. There's so many sounds on here that you can get, interesting stuff. I had used this in my previous band, Seance, for pretty much everything. So I thought I would try to use it for different things in Night Goat. I'm still working out the kinks. There's so much you can do with this that I hardly ever have time to fully give it its just due. This one of these costs, I think, $600 or $700. So it's not a cheap system, but if you're wanting to get some really intense, crazy synth-driven guitar sounds, this is the way to go. My brother-in-law bought me this for Christmas a few years ago. I thought I would never use it. This is a little Marshall, like almost like a pig nose amp, a little practice thing. This thing sounds great when you mic it. It sounds like a full-blown Marshall. It's a rad little piece of gear. So thank you, Joe, for getting this for me. I used it on the recording. Finally, last but not least, is this awesome little guy. This is a Korg mono, I forget what it's called, a Korg Monotron. This has a ribbon in it, and this is basically just a little noise maker. This thing is super cool, and it has so many different sounds, and you can create all kinds of little tweaks and stuff with it. All these knobs move, all this stuff does different stuff, but it's all noise. It's just all noise. There is nothing beautiful about it. I mean, if you like noise, there is, but there's nothing like a keyboard sound or anything. This is just chaos, but you can control the chaos, and that's what I did. The only thing is, man, I wish Korg would make one of these and make one about this big so I could use it in a live setting. This thing is, there's really not hardly any way to plug it in and use it live. And it's even hard to use to record, but it's fun to mess around with and get cool sounds. So I think that's about it for what I used on the album. I hope you guys dug this little, I don't know what you would call this, little playful thoughts on different pedals and gear I used. Thank you. Buy the record.